Hi guys, Tim here doing another military, well, really kind of uniform history today, military uniforms. This video is going to be about the British military uniforms since 1871 all the way up until about 1837. That's the patterns, that's webbing, uniforms and equipment to go with them. Pardon me. And this will be part one, of course, in two parts, most probably. Of the British military uniform. So, without further ado, I'll just get started. So, when the British Army, of what we call it now, really back then it was the English Army, technically, but when the British Army really first formed back in 1661 by Charles II, they were trying to look around for not really new, but another form of uniform. And now in the end they went with red. And now red was at that time the cheapest dye you can get for clothing, so that's why they use it. There's loads of myths about it would hide the blood of the wounded, but no, it's just simple as it's just the cheapest they could buy at the time. So this lasted for many hundreds of years until until about 1888, but that's another story. So this will cover really the more famous patterns of uniforms, as I said, since 1871 to 1830, till 1937. So I'll just get started. Now, this will be the pattern. Now, the thing is, I don't actually have these uniforms, which I'd love to in the future, but I have to just rely on a piece of paper and pictures. So, which is the pattern 1871 Falaise equipment, or primarily known by its owner, by its manufacturer, by its designer, the Suede Wallace equipment. That is the pattern 1871 Suede Wallace equipment. Also, the usual webbing and tunic. And now these are, very famous. These were worn by men from, say, right through Anglo-Zulu War, right through the First Boer War, the unofficial Boer War as I call it. Before that, Sudanese Madness War, Egypt. And now that's where the problem lay in this, is because fighting in the sands and deserts and everything, of Egypt and Sudan and everything, it was like the enemy was shooting fishes in a barrel. The colour red would stand out very easily in the environment, sand coloured environment. So the British Army had to do something. Now this is what I'm going to talk about later on. They did change it, but they did have to do something. So they did something, which I'll tell you later. So it's got the traditional webbing, usual straps would connect them to your belt, with your ammunition pouches there and there. And now, as I said, this is going to be equipment as well. So the rifle that at the time they were using was the Martini Henry rifle, invented by a Swedish bloke and an American bloke. That's exactly the same. And it was heavy, robust. It's one of the most famous rifles there is in the British Army at the time, and it was using its ammunition was the 5.77 by 450, that very famous round. Sometimes by people called the Buffalo round because of its size, which is this. There, very powerful. There, and these, used to weigh down the ammunition pouches very well, very well. So basically, how they would handle the ammunition when they first get them. These would be wrapped up in about a pack of five or six, in a big box square packet, of course with the date in it, and they will be housed in blocks in there. Yeah, in there. And now they would open it, take them out, and then take out unravel the packaging, take these out, either dump them in there, or around the side there's a black pouch there which they put in them, known as the expense pouch, because of the expense rounds, you know individual rounds at the back. So yeah, when the British Army finally decides to, oh, what we're going to do with all this red, we're getting picked off in the deserts, it looks like what we're fighting at the moment and probably going to be in a lot of years. They finally decide to change it in 1888 with the pattern 1888 equipment here. And I'm sorry about the picture, the bad picture, but you can definitely see they've changed from red tunic, traditional red, to now more grey sand coloured. Pardon me. And the webbing hasn't simplified, but it's similar. It's still white, yeah. And oh yeah, just to say, on these ones, the ammunition pouches open, or the lids open that way, and that's something you have to remember for future webbing and equipment. And now the only really big major difference with this and that one is the actual equipment. So what they were using at that time in December of 1888, the Lee Metford rifle, magazine Lee Metford, the first ever repeating rifle of the British Army rapid fire repeating rifle we ever owned. And it used this, the .303 British. And now this is a Second World War 1945 dated, but back in December of 1888 when they adopted the magazine Lee Metford in .303 British, which was a big leap in economics and all that stuff. What you have to think about is, back then there wasn't pointed bullets. That was 1907, but still, there was never pointed bullets. Just think of this bullet here being rounded like that. Just think of it being rounded like that. So, and now how they would use it. There was no expense pouches, or there was no other little methods of taking them out of the packaging, unravel the packaging, putting them in. It was literally before you addressed, all these were filled up in like that. You'll get that, and you'll get, I can get the other one out here. Ooh, come on, out you go. Done. You'll get one like that, and then of course one like that, and then the other one will be in the middle, just like that. And that will be, there and there. And they carried roughly 150 in total, then about. They're still using the pith helmet, the old pith helmet there, which they was being used back in 1871. Pardon me. What else? No, that's all really. I mean, at the time the water bottle was changed from this style, which was square, kind of oblongy square. One to more of a round one. Yeah, it was in between this patent of uniform and the next patent of uniform when they changed when they had a new patent, the 1895 patent, water bottle. So that leaves me to talk about. Oh yeah, just say this 577 by 450 is gone, long gone. So yeah, which actually will be the end of part 1 of the video of British military uniforms. So I'll see you guys in part 2. Bye.